Theater circles are buzzing with talk about a leaked security camera video from an EVITA rehearsal showing Rachel Zegler, the production star, allegedly being escorted off stage against her will. The footage, which has spread widely among industry insiders, captures what appears to be a tense confrontation, ending with security approaching Zegler from two sides before leading her away, while cast and crew watch in stunned silence. What's particularly striking about the video is how everything freezes in that moment. The music stops, movement ceases, and according to sources close to the production, this wasn't some theatrical exercise or planned dramatic moment. It was the culmination of what they're describing as weeks of escalating tension between Zegler and the creative team. This incident marks a surprising turn for Zegler, who initially couldn't stop expressing enthusiasm about playing Eva Perón.
Yeah, well, we're busy, of course. EVITA opens at the Palladium this summer, so we're collaborating with Jamie Lloyd again following Sunset Boulevard. Well, Rachel was desperate to play Eva Perón. You know, it was her idea.
Early interviews showed her describing the role as transformative, life-changing, and culturally significant. Her social media overflowed with behind-the-scenes content and heartfelt reflections about the historical importance of portraying such an iconic figure. For a while, it seemed like this production might help Zegler pivot away from previous controversies. The media narrative supported her casting, fans rallied behind her, and there was genuine excitement about her taking on this demanding role. But something shifted dramatically during the rehearsal process. The enthusiastic posts disappeared, replaced by cryptic messages and emotional silence. Sources claimed Zegler began describing the production environment as unsafe and hostile, using terms like creatively gaslighting in private messages that eventually leaked to fan accounts, where she once celebrated the artistic collaboration. She reportedly began characterizing it as controlling and oppressive. Some production insiders suggest the real issue wasn't the environment, but the expectations. Zegler rally allegedly struggled with the realization that EVITA wasn't designed as a one-woman showcase, but rather required tight ensemble work moving at a demanding pace. When friction emerged during rehearsals and stories leaked, her team reportedly shifted into damage control mode. This pattern feels familiar to some industry observers, who point to previous instances where Zegler initially embraced projects like Snow White and Shazam! Fury of the Gods, only to later distance herself when complications arose. The difference this time is that real people, cast members, crew, and producers were being pulled into an increasingly public narrative. Things reportedly deteriorated from the beginning of rehearsal. Sources described subtle tensions, Zegler arriving minutes late with various excuses, questioning directorial choices, suggesting alternative staging, and even modifying choreography without approval. One tech crew member allegedly described every lighting cue becoming a debate, while director Jamie Lloyd reportedly spent more time managing emotions than refining the actual performance. The cast reportedly began adapting in concerning ways, ensemble members requesting to be repositioned away from certain areas, audio adjustments to balance out unexpected vocal improvisations, and a general fragmentation of the collaborative spirit essential to theater. Then came the breaking point, a full run-through with producers and financial backers in attendance. Minutes into the performance, Zegler allegedly stopped everything, expressing dissatisfaction with lighting, costumiering, and color tones after crew members scrambled to address concerns. They discovered Zegler had simply left the building without explanation. This pattern of walking out reportedly repeated itself, creating an environment where director Lloyd eventually stopped communicating with Zegler directly, instead relaying all notes through assistants or stage managers. A virtually unprecedented situation in professional theater, where director-lead communication is considered foundational to any successful production. Behind closed doors, the production team allegedly shifted from creative planning to crisis management. Producers consulted legal experts about Zegler's contract, exploring possible recasting options, and quietly accelerating understudy rehearsals. The once vibrant rehearsal space reportedly turned cold, and clinical people showed up, performed minimally, and departed silently, all while wondering if the production would survive. Word spread quickly through London's tight-knit theater community. The West End may be internationally renowned, but professionally it functions more like a small town where reputations are currency. Insiders claim casting directors began exchanging concerned messages about Zegler, not questioning her talent, but raising flags about potential instability. This situation apparently triggered broader industry reflection, with Agents and producers reportedly revisiting Zegler's previous projects looking for patterns they might have overlooked: missed press appearances, controversial interviews, social media conflicts. What previously seemed like isolated incidents began forming a troubling mosaic. One casting assistant allegedly remarked that Zegler was now on watch, not blacklisted, but approached with heightened caution during one Broadway casting discussion. Her name reportedly elicited uncomfortable silence with decision makers reluctant to assume the perceived risk. Perhaps most telling, young performers who once cited Zegler as inspiration supposedly began distancing themselves with vocal coaches, using her trajectory as a cautionary tale in response to the growing controversy. Zegler didn't remain silent, but didn't directly address specifics, either. Following a strategy similar to her approach during the Snow White backlash, she posted poetic, emotionally charged content about holding space, healing through chaos, and choosing grace in unsafe rooms. Messages that resonated with devoted fans but frustrated industry professionals seeking accountability. This approach, reframing professional conflicts as cultural conversations about empowerment and progress, had successfully deflected criticism previously. The current situation, however, involves tangible production delays and financial implications that artful Instagram captions can't resolve. Zegler's career trajectory has been remarkable but uneven. Plucked from obscurity by Steven Spielberg for West Side Story, she initially seemed destined for stratospheric success. Her powerful voice, emotional depth, and screen presence garnered critical acclaim, but subsequent projects brought complications. Shazam! Fury of the Gods underperformed commercially, with Zegler's reported comments about only taking the role for financial reasons alienating both fans and executives during the Snow White promotional cycle. Her critiques of the original animated classic as creepy and her characterization of the prince as useless generated significant backlash from Disney's traditional audience. EVITA was positioned as a strategic return to Zegler's strengths, a showcase for her undeniable vocal talent in a prestigious theatrical production. Instead, it reportedly became another chapter in a developing narrative about challenging collaboration. Industry sources suggest Zegler's representatives are now recommending a strategic reset, marketing smaller roles, independent films with established directors, limited press engagements, and projects where she isn't solely responsible for carrying the production's commercial prospects. The talent remains undisputed, but the accompanying complications have allegedly made studios and production companies increasingly hesitant. In an industry where reliability and collaborative spirit often outweigh raw talent in hiring decisions, Zegler faces a critical juncture. At just 23 years old, she has time to redirect her career trajectory, but industry memory runs deep, particularly regarding production disruptions that impact financial investments. What makes this situation particularly compelling is the tension between undeniable talent and professional conduct. No one questions Zegler's extraordinary vocal abilities or emotional range. These qualities remain exceptional. The concern centers on the reported pattern of initial enthusiasm followed by public distancing when projects become challenging for young performers navigating Hollywood and theaters. Zegler's journey offers powerful lessons about industry relationships. A single brilliant performance might launch a career, but sustaining that career requires building a reputation for consistency and professionalism. Technical skill opens doors, temperament determines how long they remain open. Theatrical productions represent particularly vulnerable environments for behavioral issues, unlike film, where problematic scenes can be res-hot or performances enhanced through editing. Live theater demands real-time collaboration and mutual trust. When the lead performer becomes unpredictable, the entire production ecosystem feels the impact immediately. What's particularly striking about the EVITA situation is how quickly it escalated from minor tensions to alleged security involvement. Sources describe early signs that might have seemed insignificant in isolation: slight tardiness, questioning of directorial choices, creative disagreements gradually accumulating into a breakdown of fundamental working relationships. The reported moment when director Jamie Lloyd ceased direct communication with his lead represents an extraordinary breakdown in theatrical practice. Directors and leads typically maintain close creative dialogue throughout rehearsals, refining performances through constant feedback. That connection reportedly severed completely, with communication filtered through intermediaries, a virtually unprecedented situation in professional theater for audiences and fans watching from outside. The narrative appears dramatically different depending on perspectives. Zegler's passionate supporters see a young artist being constrained by traditional power structures and standing up for her artistic integrity. Industry professionals reportedly see concerning unprofessionalism that jeopardizes productions representing significant investments of time, money, and creative energy. The leak rehearsal footage has intensified these divergent interpretations. The same video showing security approaching Zegler generates radically different responses, either evidence of institutional mistreatment or necessary intervention in an untenable situation. This polarization reflects broader cultural conversations about changing workplace expectations across industries. Zegler's response strategy: dynamic, emotional, poetic social media content rather than direct addressing of specific allegations, effectively mobilizes fan support, but reportedly frustrates industry veterans. This communication approach, emphasizing personal experience over professional accountability, reflects generational shifts in how public figures engage with controversy. What happens next will likely determine Zegler's long-term career trajectory. Industry sources suggest several potential paths forward: a period of professional recalibration through smaller, less exposed projects, work with established directors known for mentoring young talent, or perhaps a strategic break followed by a carefully managed comeback. The most challenging aspect may be rebuilding trust with producers, directors, and fellow performers in an industry built on collaborative relationships. Perceptions of reliability matter tremendously. Talent opens initial doors, but sustained success depends on being someone others want to work with repeatedly. For theater and film producers, the situation raises difficult questions about supporting young performers through professional development. How can production environments better prepare inexperienced leads for the pressures of carrying major projects? What support structures might prevent emotional challenges from escalating into production crisis? Whatever happens with EVITA and Zegler's involvement, this moment represents a critical juncture. At 23, she remains extraordinarily young by industry standards, with ample time to reshape her professional narrative. The fundamental question isn't about talent that remains exceptional, but whether she can harness that talent within collaborative frameworks that major productions require.